Hello and welcome to Batflips and Nerds, the baseball podcast with a British twist. I am your host this evening, Russell Easom, and I am delighted to be back in the UK and talking to my baseball friends about baseball. Firstly, we have the man who has some serious opinions about John Henry and others. So, John, how are we doing?
I'm all right. I think you're teasing. I think that's called the opening segment of the podcast. Let's see if it lives up to billing.
And also with John today, as the viewers on YouTube will see, is we have the man who can give us all of the feels for the world of Rocky fandom. Ben Carter, how are you doing today, Ben?
I'm good, yeah. The last time we recorded, I said the Rockies had hit rock bottom, and the very next night they lost 21-0 and then sacked two very important people on their team. So I'm not going to do anything like that this time, because it can always get worse.
Is that why you've come in Tiger's full kit?
Correct.
You're hoping to divert the hoodoo onto a different franchise entirely.
YouTube viewers are going to be confused. It was Royals last week, Tigers this week. Just a big AL Central fan, me now.
Yeah, and the one guy who supports the AL Central team is wearing a bunch of Angels gear he picked up on the West Coast. So,
Yeah.
before we get into the musings of my trip that I've just been on in California for 3 weeks, I think we have to talk through a couple of key topics, which I've hinted on two of them already, but I think we do have to start with the latest, I think, episode of the telenovela that is Rafael Devers and the Boston Red Sox. Like, this is it's amazing. Like, we chatted at the start of the season how do you not have a conversation with your player before that player then says something out in public and be like, hey, don't say this. And we thought, well, maybe they will have learned from it. Well, I guess the answer is they haven't. We've had the wonders of Rafi Devers basically telling the whole entire public that he does not want to play first base. I think there was a definite level of mistranslation again, as we've had with some of this before, for him saying things in Spanish. It's not saying he doesn't want to do it, but the fact that he doesn't know how to do it, and it's a difficult thing to do. But, John, who is most in the wrong here? Devers, Breslow, John Henry? Like, how much should a player bend for a team?
Well, I think first things first is I'm going to doff my cap for the culturally appropriate reference there. Telenovela, very, very, very nice.
Oh, I started
It's a
off
really
with
good.
Barbecue Boys, so that's fine.
Oh, did you? Oh, well, there you go. Jake and Jordan always blazing the trail for us as ever. It's a good question, Russ. I don't really think I have a straight answer to it, unfortunately. I have been, I'll be honest, quite surprised at how much blowback there's been on Devers in the Boston Red Sox fan base. I mean, look, this is a fan base that likes to beat people up unnecessarily. So, that point notwithstanding, I feel genuinely quite sorry for him. Like, I think in the summer, in the off season, sorry, he was treated really poorly. I think the decision to prioritize Alex Bregman for the good of the team was probably the right one in baseball terms. But as you said in your intro, there's no way that he should have been hung out to dry as the leader of the team, the face of the franchise, and asked questions about how he felt about that possibility. He should have been guarded away from it, and he just wasn't. And obviously there are really difficult circumstances with Tristan Casas. It's difficult. It's the worst possible injury that could happen to the Red Sox. They have two of the best prospects in baseball ready to play, and they can play basically every single position apart from that one. Well, they could play that position, but why would you want them to? It'd be an entire waste of their talent. It's the worst possible injury for the Red Sox. And there is an obvious solution. Like, Rafael Devers is a decent third baseman. He's not fielding at all. He could fill in that position. But I think it's totally understandable on a purely human level that he is righteously angry and feels like he's been totally jerked about. I don't know Craig Breslow personally. He seems like he's a smart guy, a very good baseball person, a good baseball player, and a great baseball mind. But he doesn't seem to have a great deal of emotional IQ. And I think to approach Devers, given the circumstances, and sort of expect him to toe the line in a way that fit for the team immediately off the bat was just an entire lack of emotional IQ. Contrast that to how Alex Cora approached it, and he basically said right away, I don't think he's going to play first base. He completely protected his player. I just feel really sorry for him. Now, I do understand why John Henry went to Kansas City and said, pull your finger out, I'm paying you $30 million a year to do this. You will be doing this for the good of the team. I also find the reporting of that really strange, that he's gone out there to read the riot act. I would imagine he's probably gone out there to, put an arm around him and try and talk him around to it. I think he probably will do it eventually. I just think it's been managed really poorly, primarily by Craig Breslow. And what he said was right. He's never done it before. It's not the optimal solution. So yeah, it could have been handled a hell of a lot better. And I find myself, not for the first time, disappointed in the Boston fan base that they have not been able to recognise, first and foremost, that although these guys are athletes, although they're paid a hell of a lot of money, and they should suck things up, I'm not saying that's not a true point. They are human beings, and that human being has been treated pretty poorly for the last 6 months by the team he's contracted to. So yeah, I think he deserves a bit of a break.
And I think from my point of view, and I'll come to you next, Ben, quickly, is that we saw him then have the worst start to the season that is probably imaginable, and everybody was just like, oh, you see, look, he's not even going to give anything to the team. Since, 8 games into the season, he's probably been the second best player in Major League Baseball. He's been on an absolute tear, and that seems to have earned him nothing with the fandom, which I can't understand. Like, Ben, if this was with your franchise player, if this was Chris Bryant and he wasn't performing, that is the truth. How would you feel with all of this?
Too soon. Yeah, I think it's a very strange way to treat your franchise player first and foremost. Like, I get wanting to fill a gap at first base, and the Red Sox are in a very unique position where, as John said, they aren't short of hitting talent. They are just short of hitting talent that can play first base right now, which is not a position many teams find themselves in. But usually the first person you would protect in that situation is your mega superstar on the big contract. He wouldn't be the one that you'd be like, you shove over and play that position now because we need you to. And I have a lot of sympathy for Devers for the reasons that John outlined. Like, he was jerked around a bit in spring training, where I don't think he gave a great account for himself. He sucked it up, played DH, as you say, has now been their best player and one of the best hitters in baseball for the last month, and now is being sort of jerked around a little bit again. So yeah, look, I'm inclined to take his side more than the Red Sox side. Do I think he should have handled it differently? Yes, of course. Like, airing this out in public in a pretty explosive press conference, not the best way to go about it. But ultimately, it is difficult to play first base, and we've seen guys try and do it. Like, I mean, Kyle Schwarber with the Red Sox, right, was an absolute disaster over there. And look, Devers is a better defender than Schwarber ever has been. I'm sure he'd do a better job at first base. But you can see why he'd want to protect himself a little bit from being lambasted by fans in the media when he turns out not to be a Gold Glove first base, first time playing the position. So ultimately, I think he'll give it a go.
Said. Yeah, it's bloody
exactly
hard to play first base.
Exactly, and I think he will give it a go, and I think he'll probably end up perfectly serviceable there. But the whole thing, presumably, has left a pretty nasty taste in his mouth, and it feels like it has the potential to spiral in a bad way for the team. So yeah, we'll see. It's a strange drama.
He's got 10 years left on his contract. And after 5 games of the season, we were all laughing and saying, oh my goodness, that's a terrible contract.
Cooked.
And now we're kind of laughing at it for a completely different reason, because as Russell rightly points out, if it wasn't for Aaron Judge, he'd be the best hitter in baseball. And Aaron Judge is, as you discussed last week, arguably the best right-handed hitter of all time. He's been ridiculous since like 8 games into the season. His OPS is like almost 1,000. It's absolutely stupid. His OPS last week was about 1,800 in a week. And he's doing this whilst all this guff is going on. Just
let's piss that guy off.
Yeah, put some love on that guy's name right now, please.
Okay, so I think I got 2 quick questions which I want to ask you both about this. When do we think that Rafael Devers first plays first base for the Boston Red Sox?
I think it's probably going to be in June. I think he's probably working out with them now, like quietly behind the scenes. They're on the road at the moment, so it's a little bit more difficult to do it with, outside of the view of Pete Abraham and his pals in the press box. But I wouldn't be surprised if he's already taking reps with that mitt.
Yeah,
Ben?
I mean, he shifted to DH almost immediately after that whole Fury broke out, didn't he? I'd set the over-under around June 1st, and honestly, I wouldn't surprise me if, like, next week we start seeing him taking a few reps there. So, yeah, I think he does come around eventually, but what a weird way of getting there when they do.
And the one that I think is funnier, who will be a Boston Red Sox part of the organization for longer? Rafael Devers, Craig Breslow, or John Henry?
I mean, that's a really good question. I think in this order, it'll be John Henry, Rafi Devers, and Craig Breslow. To be honest, we're also overlooking the real victim of this scenario, which is none of those three, but it's Masataka Yoshino. He's the real victim.
He's taken a
of
lot
this
of flack, hasn't he?
because that guy really is the odd man out. If we're talking about people being the odd man out, and he must have seen. He must be the only person who was happy to see Tristan Casas go down. It's my time. Wrong. You're staying on the Phantom IL, son. See you whenever.
Okay, so talking about something else that's probably quite phantom to some of us, the Pope is a Chicago White Sox fan. This is something that we all seemingly found out over the weekend, a little bit towards the end of last week. There was some initial rumors that he was a Cubs fan, and then it came out that he was a Chicago White Sox fan, and then beyond that, there's evidence of him going to White Sox games, even going to the World Series like in 2005. All of this to me is like it's kind of hilarious that like we now live in an age that like anybody becomes Pope and you can go back and be like, what did they do for the last 20 years? Like, oh my God, they're a White Sox fan. This is the most amazing thing in the world. Have you seen the Topps Now card for the Pope?
No, I haven't.
So they released a Topps Now card, which is what Topps seemingly have done to become even more ridiculous with cards than possible. Whoever created Topps Now, I need to like tip the cap. Like you guys, the person is an absolute genius. Just being like something happened, make a card about it. People will buy a ton of them because it's only been available for 3 days. The Pope one has sold over 130,000 copies. It is basically the best-selling Topps Now card of this year, and is the highest-selling Topps Now card for a non-sport ever.
Is it the Pope at the World Series, or is it him, on the balcony at St. Peter's?
It's him on the balcony. In
they should have done
regalia.
the side by side of him in the mitre and him in the White Sox cap.
I think if
that would have been
information
amazing.
had probably come out sooner, we might have been able to get that. But I think them being on the kind of the money when it came out, they went straight away with that card, and I'm just like, to me, it's just everything that's American like thrown together like into one thing. It's like something that's overly religious. It's baseball. It's not only just baseball fandom. It's baseball cards. I just can't think of anything that is just more encapsulates America in like one thing than a Pope baseball card.
It's also very Chicago as well, right? This Catholic guy who's from the South Side, who's a White Sox fan because and also like if you read anything about him, he's like notoriously for the little guy, right? He was a bishop in Peru and stuff. Like, of course, he's a White Sox fan. Although my favorite thing that I saw about this in that sort of 12-14 hour interregnum where we thought he was a Cubs fan, someone had mocked up the white smoke with a blue W on it, which was I was genuinely laughed out loud at that. So when I found out he was a White Sox fan, I'm like, oh no, that was such a good joke. Fly the W from the chimney of the Sistine Chapel. But yeah, very, very lovely slice of Americana, and well, the White Sox need something, don't they?
We've got to get the Pope into that. Is it the leaked City Connect jersey that looks just like a Bulls jersey? Like that thing, that Topps card is going triple platinum when we can get the Pope mocked up in that jersey. But yeah, I mean, it was a great day to be on. Well, just social media generally, but certainly baseball social media, when we discovered that the Pope is not only from Chicago but an avid baseball fan, seemingly. Although for which team, it was unclear for a while. Delicious. And I think it was Assessors Barbecue Boys who pointed out the clip of him at the World Series. Someone found it. It was 2 outs in the 9th inning. So some poor soul watched 3.5 hours of a 20-year-old World Series game, hoping beyond hope to see the Pope at some point in it. And in the final at bat of the game, his lid pops up on screen. That must have been a euphoric moment when you're like, there he is! I've got him!
There he is! Pope Leo the 14th, as I live and breathe.
So I think the one thing to me
Incredible.
that this hopefully cements is that I think that we are going to have a more international baseball in Europe. I think we're going to definitely now have the White Sox versus the Cubs having an international series with the Pope throwing out the first ball somewhere in Rome. I think that like MLB will be all on that if they can. Got to kind of work out that SEO as best as you can.
Murray
I think
Cook
there's
getting
nothing.
St. Peter's Square set up for that. It's going to be a big one, isn't it?
Yeah, but hitting dingers into the basilica or whatever, and just like damaging like 100,000 year old or like a 2,000 year old architecture. I think it's a
So, so
top-notch idea.
someone phone Robert Harris. I've got an idea for Conclave 2.
To be fair, I'm assuming
Can't
that Dan
believe
Brown would
Vatican
probably have
City's. I
something.
was going to say I can't believe Vatican City's getting a baseball team before Roy Utah. This is outrageous.
So
Okay, so
slightly different denomination, that, Ben.
That's true. Big rivalry, actually.
so the
Extra
other thing that
gospel.
I alluded to in our opening was the potentially expected, if not then still surprising, firing of the Rockies manager. Ben, I think we have to go to you first. Was this unexpected? Was this expected? Did we think that, like, because there was only a season left, he was probably going to survive the entire time period?
This was pointless, is what it was. I get it because like they had to do something. The Pirates went and fired Derek Shelton, as we discussed. They were the first to move, and I guess when you're on pace to be the worst team in history and you lose a game 21-0, you kind of have to do something. I don't think Bud Black is at fault here. I think he's a pretty good manager. I think he'll get a job somewhere else, maybe not as a manager, but certainly he's well respected within the league, and I think the team liked him. But you do have to do something, right? I don't quite know how Bill Schmidt as GM has kept his job. I guess he's not been there that long, but this is clearly an issue of roster building, right? This is not, on-field decision making that's letting the Rockies down here. However many bullpen moves poor Buddy Black or lineup moves he could make, and again, he's made some questionable ones certainly with the lineup. But like this is a roster building problem, so this is shuffling the deck chairs on a Titanic. This won't make any difference really in the outcome of this season for the Rockies. But I also get optically for fans who travel to the game every night and try to cheer for this team, you do have to do something, and that is probably the easiest lever to pull. Right, is get rid of the manager, bring someone else in. We're not happy with the level of baseball we've seen so far this season. This doesn't represent us as a franchise. We want to be better. It's not going to change anything, but at least it shows you're trying to do something in a sort of superficial way.
Has anyone read the piece that Jake Mintz wrote? Second mention for Jake Mintz in this podcast about how the Rockies are
I have
run.
not.
It's well worth a look.
There's a good one in the
We'll link
Athletic
it
this week as well.
Yeah. It's absolutely ludicrous. Like the paragraph that blew my mind the most is like the list of how long the tenure is of all of the senior executives. I can't remember exactly which one of them, but there's one of them who's been there since the founding of the franchise, who's like a VP of baseball ops. Schmidt has been there since 1999. So you could say he's not been the GM for that long. He has been the GM for 4 years, right? And the team has got worse in every single one of those 4 years. But he's been there since 1999. The fundamental point here is that, as a load of people have said before, other people have said it better than us. There's a brilliant David Roth tweet about this that's about 5 years old and it's still entirely relevant. They're not actually trying to build a baseball team. They're just having a nice time with their friends. That is literally what they're doing out there in
Just
Denver.
pure vibes, and isn't it a nice ballpark? And shall we watch a game? Oh, we lost. Oh well. I mean, beyond. I mean, you're right. The tenure of some of the guys there, it's unbelievable. Like, why does the same thing keep happening to us? Oh, we should keep those guys in their jobs though for another 20 years and see if things change. Same with, I mean, the owner Dick Monfort. His son is currently the head of, I think it's pro scouting. Like, unbelievable. And I read an article about how it's not like he just got given the job, but come on, the owner's son having such an important baseball position, that's not how good franchises are run. And yeah, it's unbelievable that there hasn't been more wide-scale change in the history of this franchise given the futility. But that is just the Rockies, right? And I don't see it changing anytime soon. And part of the thing, I think Bud Black was only the fifth or sixth manager in history. They don't tend to make big changes. So this is quite a big change for them. But like at some point, just tear it all down, right, and restart. What you're doing isn't working, but I have no faith in ownership to actually do that at any point. So we'll see where this goes from here. I think it just peters out and goes nowhere really.
Yeah, the other amazing thing in Jake's piece is that they have like no proprietary pitch modeling at all. Like they have no model for what pitches are going to work in their park, who's got good stuff that might work, and they are probably the team that need it the most. Like, they just don't have it.
No,
So never mind firing Bud Black, employ like Eno Saris or something. Do that.
I think the thing to me is like I wonder if someone basically tried to do it, decided basically that it's basically impossible, so why bother? And let's just have fun. Like
Everyone's still turning up, having a lovely time, sucking down on a blue moon. Keep it going.
Yep.
There's got to be a maths nerd somewhere who sees it as a really cool challenge and wants to at least try something different, rather than like, let's just give Kyle Freeland a 10-year extension and hope that works. I mean, like, I realise it's not a great gig, but there's got to be someone out there who can try something that, you know, involves using data or analysis of some kind, rather than that man got a base hit yesterday, let's give him a start again.
It ain't broke, don't fix it.
It's so
It
broke.
is broke.
It's fundamentally
Not
broken.
So,
But like John said, they're having fun.
yeah. Who are we to yuck his yum, yeah?
Quite.
Okay, so those are our hot topics. As I briefly mentioned at the start of this podcast, I have been in California for 3 weeks and I watched a few games of baseball. So I have some West Coast wisdom that I wanted to pass on to you and Ben and John to see what their thoughts on from what I've seen. Part one is a fairly simple one, which is just if you get the chance, go watch college baseball. Like this is not something I anticipated I was going to do. I bought tickets to go watch Major League Baseball, but my partner was like, "Oh, well, while we're there, like Cal Poly, which is the team that the university that she went to, were playing in UC Santa Barbara when we were right next to Santa Barbara. So for a ticket that was less than $10, we went to watch a college baseball game. There's like, I don't know, 200, maybe 500 people in the stadium, all enjoying themselves on a sunny afternoon to just watch a game of baseball, which, if I'm honest, these are two reasonable D1 teams. There's not much, like, the quality isn't that much lower than what you watch at a major league level. Like, it's actually like a really entertaining game to watch, and it's just so much fun, like, to be part of that, to see, have the casual conversations with people around, be like, oh, what, you're from, like, the UK? Like, this is just amazing. Like, what are you doing here? It was, honestly, it was so much fun. And I think kind of, I've wanted to get to like minor league games before, but like college has always just been a bit of baseball that I've never really kind of put my attention to, just because there's just even more than there is of like baseball. It's like so much more to kind of like you dip your toe in. It's even scarier than the concept of dipping your toe into like Major League Baseball, but it was such fun to watch like a college game.
Great. I'd really love to do it. I mean, I think it's on my baseball bucket list to go to Omaha. I mean, that's obviously the big daddy, but yeah, that's a really good tip. And it sounds like I have been to minor league games. I've been to a couple of minor league parks, and it sounds like a similar experience. Like when you're walking around with this accent, people are just like, the hell's this guy doing here? Everyone wants to talk to you, don't they?
Yeah,
so strange.
I walked in and I was like, you got like just a ticket, like, and I was like, well, where can I sit? Is there areas that I can't sit or not sit? And I walked to the security guard to ask him where I could sit, and he goes, well, as long as you guys don't sit with the opposition fans over there, everything will be okay. So getting
like,
banter straight away off the security guard.
That is where I want to sit.
But yeah, like, because there's not many people there, you can hear everything. Like, you can hear all of the players cheering what's going on. You could clearly hear when some of the coaches went out and had discussions with the umpires what was going on. Hey, in college baseball, there is umpire reviews. So in D1 college baseball, so there was a couple of reviews where like the umpire has to come out and then basically shout to basically everybody who's watching what happened. He has a mic, but it doesn't really work that well, so he's just shouting as loud as he possibly can to basically tell everybody what the result of the replay was. And there was a couple of plays overturned, and it was like big cheers as he was kind of walking up to say what he was saying. Some people started like stamping on the ground like it was like a freaking like seeing like Hawkeye in a tennis match. It was just like utterly ridiculous fun. So yeah, I really do recommend it. There is so many college, and there is a lot of D1 college teams out there. You'll be surprised basically how easy during the summer it would be to kind of catch a game.
I'd love to go catch one. Yeah, similar to John. The only story I was going to add to this is about a month old now, but a friend of the show, Michael Clare, I'm sure you guys read his amazing article about Yeshiva University, I beg your pardon, playing Lehman College, the two teams without the longest losing streaks in college baseball, went head to head, and obviously in a doubleheader they ended up splitting. But it's an amazing story. All these fans who are going along to see history, knowing one of the teams had to win. I think one was a 99 game losing streak, the other was a bit shorter than that. But yeah, that was a really fun, obviously a much lower level than D1, but a really fun story about like that they take this really seriously. They just happen to be the worst team to ever play. So that was a fun story, but they made the atmosphere seem fun there, and it sounds like your experience was also pretty fun.
Cool. My second talking point was after watching 2 games live back to back I watched the Angels versus the Pirates, and then I watched the Dodgers versus the Pirates. And I was thinking about like how people viewed baseball like in the past. They would have basically only been able to kind of like see games, and their opinions on players would be based on basically what they saw. They might have read some articles and seen other things, but the 2 games that I watched, the players who were outstanding in those games were not really players who are outstanding. And it really got me thinking, like, when you've gone and watched a game, who are the players that if you had no knowledge going into the game, you would have come out basically said, this guy is a superstar? Because for game 1, for me, it was O'Neal Cruz, and he's a good player, but like, he's not a superstar. And game 2 was Andy Pajes. Like, I watched Skeens pitch against Yamamoto, and nobody in that top part of that Dodger lineup got a hit. Pajes went 3 for 3. And it was like, you were just like, yeah, this guy's obviously like much better than some of the other guys. They're just hitting pop-ups all the time. Like, why is he batting 9? Like, so I wondered, like, for you guys, and I would love if we'll push this out to listeners if they've got their own opinions of their own based on it. I think if I probably asked my sister, she'd probably say that Didi Gregorius is one of the best players of all time from watching from the London series, like the first time round.
I've got one from the first game I ever saw live, which was in San Francisco. It was Giants-Mets with my family, and I dragged them along to see it. And here's remember some guy's name, Marlon Byrd. I think hit a home run and had like 4 RBI for the Mets. The only home run of the game. He was the standout player on that day, obviously like a decent player, but very much a journeyman, especially at that stage of his career. So yeah, that was one where everyone was like, wow, or my family were like, wow, that guy's really good. And I was like, not really. But yeah, like you said, that's the beauty of baseball, and it works the other way too, right? Where like you can go to Dodger Stadium, hear all about this Shohei Ohtani guy, watch him go 0 for 4 with 3 Ks, and think like, what were you talking about? Like, he was rubbish. That's both, yeah, the great and the terrible aspect of it, I suppose, is that on any given day, anyone can kind of do anything. So yeah, I put forward Marlon Byrd as my suggestion, but I do think that's, like you say, part of the beauty of watching the games live is you get a perspective on these guys are all really good, and actually it takes a whole season to figure out the elite from the average.
So I've actually got like two or three that sprung to mind right away, and I'll just touch on them all quite quickly. So like Ian Happ at the London series, then he hit like 3 home runs in the space of 2 days. So like, yeah, Ian, if you were at that series and that was the first live baseball that you ever saw, you probably still think that Ian Happ is the best player in baseball. He was brilliant that weekend. It was in the middle of a hot streak for him. Then I saw Hyunjin Ryu pitch for the Dodgers against the Giants again in San Francisco in the very last game of a regular season about 6 years ago. It was that season when he was really good. He was very good at the time, but he was unhittable. It was just like, that was before he got the contract with the Blue Jays. So yeah, if you were a novice baseball fan, you'd be like, yeah, Hyunjin Ryu is the greatest pitcher of all time. But my personal favourite one, I've talked about this on the podcast a couple of times, is I went to the first game where Chris Sale pitched at 100 miles an hour. So if you weren't coming away thinking Chris Sale is very, very good at baseball from that game, then there was something quite wrong with you. But Chris Sale lost that game 1-0, and the guy who pitched on the other side, who pitched 8 shutout innings, was Dylan Covey, who owns a MLB ERA of over 8. There you go. Beat that one.
No, that's amazing. I think like when I went to San Francisco with basically Mameda, I took a load of people to watch a game for the first time, a load of Brits, and watched an absolute barnstormer of a game between the Mets and the Giants, and Jock Pedersen hit 3 home runs, and they were all coming out going like, Jock, 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 and it's just like.
Tomorrow, he's going to go 0 for 4 with 4 Ks.
The thing is also, he was the fielder like in front of where we were sitting as well. So like
Right.
the fans were loving him as he was coming back out, and then obviously like everybody's getting involved. It's just the wonders of like actually watching games live. Really, obviously, it's fairly simple to tell people, please go do it. It will make a massive difference. I'm I'm looking forward to seeing especially what happens to Jed when he goes to Detroit in, I think it's only a couple of weeks' time now. So to see what his thoughts when he finally comes back, whether he'll be as verbally say persuasive in person as he is on on Twitter.
He's going to he's going to be like, Javi Baez in person. Just a man, isn't he? Particularly in this little purple patch the great man's having.
Yeah. Cool.
You can kind of understand watching baseball live, like why for such a long time the sport probably overvalued power and speed, right? Because when you're watching a game, those are the two immediately noticeable things. It's like that man just hit a ball a long way, or that man's fast, look at him run. Whereas like drawing a walk, having a great eye, other things like that, like it's kind of boring when you're sat in the ballpark, right? You're not going to go home being like, did you see that 8-pitch at bat where he drew a walk? That was amazing. Whereas you are going to say, that guy who got to second and stole third and then came home on a shallow fly ball, that was really cool. So I feel like that does feed into our like internal biases around baseball, just things that look cool versus like what actually provides value to the team. Not to get too nerdy with it.
No, I think that's perfect. My next thing that I noticed, and I didn't know this going in before, and I thought I planned for it. Dodgers parking is an absolute fucking joke. Like, I don't think I've come across something more utterly ridiculous in my life. We were like a 25-minute drive away from the stadium. We planned to leave 2 hours before the game because we knew that the traffic was going to be bad because it's LA. And I don't know if any of you have ever driven in LA, but they are absolute nutters. Like, some of the most ludicrous driving I've ever seen in my entire life. And we knew the journey was not 25 minutes, it was going to be like an hour because of rush hour. Got there, got to the field actually like 40 minutes before the game. But when you get to Dodger Stadium, when you get into like the car park, you then have to kind of go up the hill very, very, very slowly because there's like 5 lanes of cars like all trying to go up the hill at the same time. And then when you're in the car park, you get sent on this really long circuitous route before you finally actually park your car. So we literally left to do a 25-minute journey 2 hours before the game, and we got into the stadium basically just after first pitch. It was so ridiculous that it's just like, I thought it was bad and I thought I planned for it. No, you need to give it like even more time. It is utterly ridiculous. Like, and then finding out from talking to locals to be like, what you actually should have done is you should have like parked over here and like walked or whatever, and like being told that like, yeah, you would just want to walk up the hill, it definitely would have been faster. And it's just like, yeah, you know what? Walking up the hill in like 20+ degree heat or whatever to go to a baseball game while there's cars blowing exhaust in your face. Like, no, I don't really fancy doing that. I would just like a far more organized place that has something, I don't know, like a mass transit system that allows you to get to places like easily and available. Hey, LA, you might want to do something. You have the Olympics. Oh, wait, you're just going to put more buses on, aren't you? It's just a nightmare.
Good quality urban planning, urban mass transit. Good ideas, good innovations, guys. Look at almost every other ballpark in the country, which is in the middle of the city. They're doing it correctly. Even the Rockies got that right.
Yeah,
I feel very
like
smug
maybe
here, which isn't. Sorry, Russ, not entirely intentional, but I went to Dodger Stadium last year and we did like park and ride. So got a bus in from about, I don't know, 30 minutes away, somewhere nearby. And that actually was really good. I was quite stunned at because we gave like you did 2.5 hours, 3 hours before first pitch we set off because I knew it was going to be a nightmare. And actually it was a breeze in the end. And obviously we left the game a lot after the last pitch because I didn't want to try and rush out. So that was probably helped as well. But actually that seemed to work okay. But like you say, just general traffic in LA is a nightmare, and I can imagine like you say that worked okay for us because we left so early, but that's not a very efficient way of getting 50,000 people into a stadium. It blows my mind they don't have a better transit system than that, but good luck to them.
It's a beautiful stadium, like utterly, like you get
stunning.
up there, you look back over the city, it's stunning. You sit in the stadium, the fact that like when you get into the stadium, that it's actually like below you, so you kind of generally come in at like the second tier. So kind of like your first view of the stadium, it's like you can kind of like see it all. absolutely stunning, like beautiful design, all of that sort of thing. But like, hey, like it's the modern time, maybe like a train station nearby or all these sorts of things. But hey ho, like who am I to tell Americans how to deal with their public transportation? They just want to make the roads wider
More
and that's
cars.
their approach. The final thing I wanted to talk about that I at the ballparks is stories I overheard at the ballpark. Like I know I'm a loud talker, and I know that like if I talk, people will hear what I'm saying. But gee whiz, at like ball games, do you hear some of the most bizarre stuff I've ever heard? Just overhearing kind of like four very loud, slightly drunk Americans discussing kind of things in their sometimes quite personal life going on around them. And other ones, I heard some very interesting business propositions. Like when we were at the Angels game, seemingly behind us, there was about 20 people who were there for corporate seating. Seemingly their company had bought some sort of like sponsorship into the Angels, and so they had a bunch of seats that they could take whenever they wanted. And they spent a very long time talking about the fact that we should get dispensaries into MLB stadiums and how much better it would be wanted if they could like just toke up and watch a game at the same time, or take some gummies and watch the game at the same time. And I'm perfectly honest, I was very brought around to their idea by the end of hearing like 30-minute discussion between basically 10 like drunk white dudes.
I was going to say, was it David Ortiz?
And these guys seemingly were trying to become like the Amazon of weed. Seemingly that's like what their company was doing or something like that. And I'm just like, this is très magnifique. Just like hearing this stuff is just like, this is why I love going to like sporting events just out there, because you would just hear the most like insane stuff.
That's absolutely incredible. I don't think I can get anywhere near that. Definitely not beat it. That's brilliant. I did once, when it was at a Red Sox game, sit next to a guy who probably, I mean, he's going back maybe 6 or 7 years. I'd say he must have been about maybe 10, 15 years my senior, and he was with two youngish kids who probably didn't want to be there, and they definitely did not want a very long explanation of who Carlton Fisk was when he came on the field. They were already not into it, and after 20 minutes of this guy getting increasingly quiet, you've got to understand, he was doing the arms and everything. Stay in. I was like, mate, just give up. This girl is 6. She doesn't care. She was not alive in 1976.
But the thing is, like, that's what I heard at the. Go on, Ben.
Go on, Russ.
No, I was going to say that's what I heard at the Angels game, and I did not think it could be topped by what I heard at the Dodgers game.
Oh, right, okay.
But I'm not certain whether this beats it, but I thought it was pretty close. So there ended up being like a group of 4 guys that were sat next to us, like behind a couple of rows, to start off with the game. The stadium was not full, even though it was like a sellout, because hey, people had to take a lot of time to get in there, and seemingly.
Yeah.
Their friends had tickets in different areas, but they basically chose to sit next to each other until people with the tickets actually came, and then they would go piss off back to their own seats. Mm-hmm. And hearing some of the discussions between these guys, they were talking not particularly fondly of a certain woman that all of them seemed to know. And it was like, I couldn't quite work out like what was going on, whether this was like, I don't know, like one of their brothers or sister, or like one of their sisters or something like that, because it was a very like familial kind of like discussion. And towards the end, I'm pretty certain 3 of them are ex-husbands of like the same woman, and they all go to baseball games together now, and have effectively bonded
Group
over
therapy.
the fact that they are the ex-husbands of a certain woman.
I really can't compete with that. I was going to say, I was sat last year at a Padres game behind a woman that I can confidently describe as the world's biggest Jurickson Profile fan, and this was a little bit before he'd really broken out last year, screaming at him in left field for basically the entire game, and only him, as the Padres won the game. And I'm now thinking she must be in a bad way, given the news that he got last month. Never mind the fact that he left the Padres, so that, yeah, maybe not the place to be.
She's not having a great time, is she?
No, not at all.
Double blow.
So yeah, that is my my dispatch notes on baseball on the West Coast. Thoroughly worth it. Obviously, I think most people would know that it is definitely worth to kind of like get out and see those sorts of games. But it's so much fun. And to be honest, like the baseball games in themselves weren't even that entertaining. Skeens dominated, which is just like it was a 3-0 game. Dodgers didn't really look like doing anything. The Angels game was a bit more interesting if they went 3-0 down and came back and took the lead in the ninth. And that was like a fairly interesting game, but there was also like, I don't know, about a tenth of the people in that stadium as there was for the Dodger Stadium. So it looks like in LA, if you've got good baseball to watch, people choose to watch that instead of watching the bad baseball.
Weird.
Yeah, weird.
Who knew?
So to finish, as we almost always do, too good, too bad. John, do you want to start us off with? Let's start with the bad, so we can end on goods.
Okay, right. So, I think it's quite bad that we now have basketball injuries in baseball. By which I'm referring to poor old Tristan Costas, who we've already discussed, but also Oswaldo Cabrera, both of whom have really quite sickening and horrible injuries to their knees, legs, ankles when base running. I know that this is just a freak coincidence that both of those injuries have happened within a fortnight of one another, and it looks like it's a cluster and it looks like it's a problem. Like it's not elbows, but yeah, it's just really horrible. Two fun players doing well in good teams, suffering seemingly quite similar and season-ending injuries, both of which look like potentially been quite limiting on their career. You know, the Costas one, patella tendon, that's notoriously difficult to come back from, and the Cabrera pictures. I mean, I have not seen the pictures of the actual injury because, rightly, those have not been shown everywhere. But those pictures of him being cradled by the Yankees medical staff were absolutely heartbreaking. So yeah, I don't like, and yeah, I mean, literally, we're recording this the day after something similar happened to Jason Tatum, right? This happens in basketball. It doesn't happen in baseball. And it probably won't happen again this season. But yeah, those two clustered with Tatum just made me be like, oh God, hope this isn't the start of something that we see in the hoops with people's ankles and knees exploding on contact. Don't want any more of it.
There's something almost worse about a non-contact injury, isn't there? Where just immediately you're like, well, that is probably season-ending, and then like you say, the one last night seemed to be particularly graphic, which yeah is awful to see at any time. But like you say, when players are rounding the bases, you would hope be a particularly safe time for them on the field, and yeah, not nice to have a couple of those in pretty quick succession.
Yeah, just
so,
I mean,
the
Costas one's just a total fluke, right? You just run through the base and his knee buckled.
Caught the bag weirdly.
Yeah, I always see this and kind of, obviously we didn't watch it when it happened, but it always takes me back to, is it Dave Dravecki who like broke his arm pitching, and you're just like,
oof.
It's like it just these are horrible, and you don't want to watch them, and you feel sympathy for all those players because there's almost literally nothing they could have done to kind of do this. These are those freak accidents. Okay, so we're moving swiftly on to Rob, as I managed to put in our call sheet today. I do apologise, Ben, on that one.
Rob. Didn't change it.
What is one of Rob's bads for the week, Ben?
Brought up Utah.
I'm now thinking I should do like a Rob impression for my bad and talk about how, I don't know, my bad is not enough backflips on the bases or something. But my bad, unfortunately, is Jordan Walker of the Cardinals, who is just bad. And it's kind of sad to see because it feels like not very long ago he was kind of universally a sort of top 10, top 20 prospect in the game, one of the Cardinals' most exciting young talents. And it's basically all gone horribly wrong since. I think he's basically got worse consistently each year since he got to the majors. And this year he has been particularly bad. His K rate is through the roof. His barrel rate is down. He very much looks like someone who kind of has forgotten how to hit. He's been usurped, obviously, in the lineup by, I think it's Victor something Scott, who the Cardinals are doing well, but I mean he is no part of it right now, and I feel like it's got to the point where he probably gets traded in the next couple of months because the value is just completely shot for the Cardinals. I presume he's out of options. Maybe he can be optioned and they can try and figure this out in the minors. But it's just weird to see a player who was so promising for a team that is usually very good at developing young talent just completely fizzle out in the way that he has. So I kind of hope he does get traded and finds a new start with a new team and can figure it out from there. But I remember being very excited about him making his debut and what he could potentially be in the majors. And it just has not worked out for him at all. So yeah, fingers crossed that he can figure out whatever it is that's going on, whether it be physical or mental, and get back to sort of the player we thought he might be. He's not the first top prospect to struggle. But yeah, given how he was seemingly going to be sort of a key player for the Cardinals for years to come. This has all gone pretty horribly wrong for him.
So I have two observations on that. Obviously, I'm sad because Jordan Walker was a lot of fun when he first came up. The first is that he is, I think, probably the biggest human being I've ever seen in the flesh. He is just so big, like ludicrous. Like this is it when you see athletes up close, which we've had the privilege of doing at the London series. You take for granted that they're absolutely stacked, and some of them that they're like Mike Troutman just couldn't believe how big he was, but Jordan Walker was something else. He was enormous. The second thing, even more asinine, and it's just because it like immediately popped into my head as soon as you mentioned it. Have either of you seen what Victor Scott's middle name is?
No,
Nope.
You're not gonna get it. You're not gonna get it because it's ridiculous. His middle name is not Dwayne. Like that's an almost normal name. His middle name is, I kid you not, Dwanine.
that's got to be a misspelling.
Dwanyne. Dwanine.
Hey, maybe
Sorry.
like one of his grandpas is called Dwayne, and he's named after someone. But
Victor Dwanine Scott II. There you go. What a name. Only in America. Russell, it's you.
okay, on to me. I think I might have a spicy one here. 1-day ceremonial contracts. I absolutely hate them. Like, if you wanted to make this person like end on your team, you should have signed them to a proper contract. You should have forced them onto your 25-man roster and actually be forced to kind of put somebody else back down if you want to kind of sign someone and claim that they ended their career on your team. This stuff with Evan Longoria being like, oh, he's ended his career as a Ray. No, he didn't. It's bollocks. And so, like, there will be nobody at any point in the future who will remember that he had this ceremonial thing that allowed him to be a Ray in his career. His baseball reference page, his Fangraphs page will say he ended his career with somebody else. This is just utter lunacy for the sake of something. If you really cared, you could have signed him to a contract.
What I'm taking away from this is Russell hates the late Roy Halladay. That's all I'm hearing. R.I.P. Roy. Big tragic accident, but fuck it. You signed that 1-day contract with the Blue Jays, and I don't care anymore.
This is an amazing take. I hate it, but it's an amazing take, Ross. I would have accepted if you said they've gone too far. I feel like some players sign 1-day contracts. I'm like, you aren't even that much of a legend for that team. Do you really need to go back there just to sign a 1-day contract?
No,
I do feel like Evan Longoria reaches the threshold of one team legend to be able to do this for the Rays. But no, if you're going to go all in on the take, I'm glad you went all in on the take. You've got their best ever player, which says more about the Rays than anything, but
You've got to do an Ichiro. You've got to re-sign. You've got to go back out. You've got to be awful in front of your home crowd, and then get a send-off when you actually were nowhere near good enough to be playing baseball at that time. You got to go whole hog if you want to still basically finish your career as a player on a certain team.
Where's the line as well? Like, why Evan Longoria? Why not like Carl Crawford? Why not Ben Zobrist or David Price? Why this guy? I agree.
He was better than all of them.
All right, whatever. Don't care. And I agree with you. I'm quite surprised, even though you hate Roy Halladay. R.I.P.
All right, John, take us to the good world of baseball.
Absolute skins. As Big Darren, our friend, the Mets fan from up in the northeast of England, would probably have it. Paul Skeens is pitching in the World Baseball Classic, injury and roster scheduling permitting, of course, which is great, isn't it? You know, Aaron Judge and Paul Skeens, that's not going to be a bad roster, is it? I think we probably had the same conversation when Judge announced that he was playing the WBC. Just brilliant for the tournament. Absolutely what you want to see. You want to see a US team taking it as seriously as the Dominican team and the Puerto Rican team and the Venezuelan team and the Japanese team and the Korean team. Brilliant. I'm so stoked. Yeah, absolute skeins. Yes, thank you. I love it.
So I think we need to get our guesses in as early as possible of which random British player is going to take Paul Skeens deep. And I know people have already joked Harry Ford in our chat group, but I think that's not niche enough. We need to be working out like who else it's going to be. Like, is Matt Koperniak going to finally have his like WBC kind of like success story?
Matt Koperniak's first WBC hit is going to be a dong off Paul Skeens.
Book it.
Yeah, no, as you
Trace
said, it's
Thompson.
amazing. Trace Thompson coming back, obviously Boston Red Sox legend now. But
It's
yeah,
going to be someone we
Taking
don't
Skeens
even.
yard.
It's going to be someone we don't even know qualifies for GB. Who Brad Marcelino is currently like got pinned in a corner of some double A clubhouse somewhere in the Midwest. Just do it. Think about taking Paul Skeens deep. You could be the next Justin Wiley.
yeah. All we know is that like somehow Liam Carroll's worked out that Roman Anthony has some sort of like British connection as well, or something like that.
I mean, that guy Roman Anthony, he's playing for the Pope's team. That fella, come on.
All-time great
All
name.
right. Ben, give us another good.
I know we just discussed injuries in the bad section, but I'm going to mention some players who are actually coming back from injury soon, touch wood, which I think is a good. We've got some high-profile guys who are getting there. I think today Ronald Acuna Jr. is starting his rehab assignment, and we obviously haven't seen him play in over a calendar year now, so it's great that he's getting back towards the level where he can contribute for the Braves, and that'll be a big shot in the arm for them. I think Brandon Woodruff also has been out for over a year now. Possibly hasn't pitched since 2023. He, I think, is coming back to the majors on Friday for the Brewers, which is great.
Slight setback.
George
so
Kirby.
a couple more weeks, but
Oh, he did? No, brilliant.
Yep.
Well, that ruins that. George Kirby nearing his return, unless he's also had a setback. He probably has, hasn't he? Why did I make this a good? And Clayton Kershaw, he is also nearing a return. He made a sick play in the minors on his rehab assignment. I don't know if you saw this. If not, I'm sure we can get it out on the socials. But it was like a proper, one of the best plays you'll see a pitcher make from like 39-year-old half-broken Clayton Kershaw, which rules. So I'm excited to see him back on the mound if indeed he does make it back. So yeah, touch wood, Woodruff does make a full recovery. But yeah, a few guys who at least are nearing their return after long absences.
no, it's awesome. It's always also good to see that. All right, I'll quickly jump onto a player which I think was slighted by the top 10 last week. Pete Crow Armstrong. How can you not be telling me that this guy is not one of the top 10 players in baseball? The boy can hit. The boy can steal. The boy is probably the best defensive center fielder we've seen in years. This is like the second coming of Ken Griffey Jr., okay? Like, how can you not
Wow.
love Pete Crow Armstrong? Like, no, honestly, like I hate the on-pace stats as a thing to say what it is, but he's on pace for 50 stolen bases, 39 home runs, and potentially have like a kind of like defensive and offensive runs where both of them are like 30 plus, which is things that kind of like only the likes of like Kenny Lofton and Ken Griffey Jr. have done. So he is playing like what the peak of Hall of Famers, and it's just amazing to see. Like there's been, I think in all of MLB, there's been 19 catches, which they class as like a 5-star catch so far this year. Pete Armstrong has 4 of those 19. Like it's utterly unbelievable what he's doing, and people should be dropping what they're watching to go watch PCA play because it is just unbelievable right now. And we don't know how long it'll last, so let's just enjoy it while it's bloody amazing.
Yeah,
No
he's so
arguments
much
here.
fun. He's also just like really weird as well, and I love that. Like I can't find it now, but there was a video that MLB put out a couple of weeks ago about the type of stuff that he's into, and he is a different cat, and I love that. I love when you have people who just are unapologetically themselves in sports. It's not just the blue hair, and it's not just the sort of the albino look and the over the top histrionics on the field. He's a bit like Jazz Chisholm, right? He's a real individual, and I love that. Yeah, he's great. Got a lot of time for him.
Yeah,
Cool.
no arguments
So-
here. He rules.
After we've gone for some great stuff, John, bring us down again. What's awful?
Oh, for Christ's sake, Rich Hill's back.
The Dick Mountain has returned.
Why? I mean, we've been doing this podcast for 8 years, and I feel like this has been a segment in every single one of them. Why is Rich Hill back? He's 45 years old. Just give the man a rest, for goodness sake. Talking about one-day contracts, his sayonara absolutely should have been pitching in the Premier 12. I loved that for a sort of a tale of adversity. He is the chapeau at the end of a brilliant career in the face of adversity where you reinvented yourself and you were a wonderful story. but he just risks becoming an absolute, like, the butt of a joke. Like, all of that goodwill that there was for him when he came back for the Red Sox and he had that season with Oakland and that Dodgers contract, and he cried at the press conference with his little boy there. Now he's just like bloody clown car fodder for whichever team will take him in like June because they need a ninth pitcher. So it's the Royals this time. He's going to have 2 starts with the Royals. He's going to be absolutely awful. Rich, I'm begging you, man. Stop.
But John,
Just
it's gonna
don't
give him
do
the
it
14th.
anymore.
It's gonna be the 14th team, John. Like, this could be like we could get the Rich Hill like heel turn. Come on, think about it from the Cena perspective. He's got to get the record, man.
He's got to get the... Look, Edwin Jackson deserves that. That's Edwin Jackson's record. Rich Hill's got his own story. The Rich Hill story is he was absolutely hopeless until he was 36. It shouldn't be he's the new Edwin Jackson. Don't do it, Rich. Don't
He's
do
got
a
5
Cena.
more. He's got 5 more good years in him. I'm not worried about Rich Hill. If Jamie Moyer could pitch at 50, why can't Rich Hill? So you just get him started.
Jamie Moyer couldn't pitch at 50, Ben.
Rich Hill can't pitch at 45, but we won't know
No, he
that stuff.
cannot.
Yeah, some of us can't pitch at 30, but okay.
Rich Hill was a little bit better than you, Russell. I will say that much.
Outrageous, John. My probably like 11 ERA in single A British baseball will have words with that. Ben, give us another bad.
Second bad, what did I have? Oh, I had, I don't know if you guys saw this. There was a perfect game in the minor leagues. Don't know if you saw how this happened, but that's why it's in my bad. It's the way it happened. First of all, it was in a doubleheader, a double A, and it was a 7-inning game. So was it really a perfect game?
No.
Probably not. Also, the pitcher, Jonah Tong, I think he's the Mets' number 6 prospect. He pitched 6 2/3 perfect innings and was then pulled for the final out. Are you winding me up? What are we doing here? If we're going to call it a perfect game, which again, I'll take the argument that maybe it isn't, then at least let him finish the 7 innings. Why was he taken out after 6 2/3 for the final out, throwing a perfecto? That's the kind of thing, like, even if it's a double A, even if it's 7 innings, that's the kind of thing you can like tell your grandkids about. I pitched a perfect game. There it is. There's the box score. I did it. Now he can't really say that. He can say, I pitched 6 2/3 innings, and then my mate Josh came in and got the final out, and we got a perfect game together. I think that sucks. And I get it. He's a prospect. There are bigger things in a double A game against the Binghamton Rumble Ponies. But a perfect game is the kind of thing where, like, pitch count be damned. Let this man finish it. He was at 99 pitches. He wasn't at like 140. He was at 99. Should have been given a chance to finish it off. That's a bad, but, you know, congrats, Jonah. Great pitching performance, I guess. Also, he pitches a bit like Lincecum, so looking forward to seeing him in the majors.
Well, 99 of those that he definitely needed pulled, Ben. Now that you've given me that tidbit, I'm not letting you get away with it. Think of the stress on that guy's pecs. Whoa.
Yeah,
it-
it does not look healthy.
Was it Michaelis who got a 7-inning no-hitter? Somebody got a 7-inning no-hitter when we had it in the major leagues during the COVID season. I can't remember who it was now. And they said it didn't count. So, assuming...
But yeah, but on the other hand, friend of the podcast, Rick Teasley, got a 9-inning perfect game for the Somerset Patriots against the Long Island Ducks in the Atlantic League. And his team got walked off in extras in the 10th, and he claims he pitched a perfect game. So, you know, come see, come start.
It's all
9 innings, perfect game, mate. Whatever happened after that, don't care.
Amazing. So I will go through my last bad. I got the chance to watch a lot of baseball when I was in California on TV as well, just because surprisingly, when you're in California, there are games that like start at sometimes at like 10 o'clock in the morning. So you can watch like 2 or 3 games in a day and still do other things with your life. So I saw a couple of Yankees games, and I then had to do some research afterwards. But Jason Dominguez is an awful fielder. Like, some of the balls that he's let drop in front of him, I thought were some of like the laziest plays that like I've seen in a long time. And then I went and look at them, and it's like he has like the exact opposite of PCA, has like 0-star catches that he's not got. Like 99% plays where he's taken like just the wrong route or not running hard on it, and it's just bounced in front of him. And I remember all of the Yankees fans being like, it doesn't matter that we got rid of Soto, like his defense was bad. Well, you got exactly the same on the other hand. Now, obviously, he's a 22-year-old player or whatever he is, like in his only second major league season, and has the chance to improve. But it doesn't look good when this was supposedly like at some point the best prospect in baseball, the most talked about prospect in baseball, and he might not have a defensive position at the age of 22. Like, how long can you actually DH in a career?
He's also not that good a hitter. I know he'd had a 3-homer game, but like he's on the Jordan Walker path of this might flame out quite quickly. I hope it doesn't. He's a very exciting player, but yeah, you're given the hype he had. This has the downside of going wrong very quickly.
It's Yankees prospects, isn't it? This always happens with Yankees prospects. Like Cabrera, bless him, not having the best week, but Cabrera, Volpe, I mean, Volpe's been better this season. Dominguez, they're never as good as everyone says they're going to be. I mean, this is a particularly egregious example, but Yankees prospects, just always.
All right, so let's end on some goods. John, give us your last good.
Yeah, so this, straight off the bat, this might sound like I'm being a little bit edgy, and actually that I'm trying to make a bad into a good, but I think this is, in my opinion, just unequivocally good. It's the Detroit Tigers fans booing Alex Bregman when he came up for his first at-bat in Comerica Park as a Boston Red Sox. You will all recall famous Detroit Tiger Alex Bregman for his shenanigans as a multiple World Series winner with the Houston Astros. Yeah, I mean, if you were asleep in the off season, Bregman did get very close to signing for the Tigers, and and the Red Sox pipped them at the last minute because he was basically holding out to join the Red Sox all along, and very, very nearly joined the Tigers, and then literally, I think it was in the space of about 5 minutes, changed his mind and came to Boston. I love this level of pettiness. I absolutely love it. This is probably because I'm a big fan of professional wrestling, but this sort of heel heat for baseball players, if you go away and watch the clip, it's absolutely Teutonic. Like it's much, much heavier than, John Cena or Gunther are getting, or Seth Rollins in the WWE right now. So there's a brilliant message on Blue Sky and Twitter from Jason Beck, who covers the Tigers. You could stomp on a Detroit-style pizza, douse a Coney dog in ketchup, and spit a can of Verner's while wearing an Ohio State National Championship t-shirt and not get booed at Comerica Park like Alex Bregman just did in his first at-bat. Amazing. Just more of this absolutely churlish pettiness, please. He's done basically nothing wrong to the Detroit Tigers. He's taken a better contract at a team that he thinks has got more chance to win. He's turned out at this point in the season to be entirely wrong, and they are absolutely right to harangue him for it. Yes, please.
Love it. We'll wait for the point at some point in the end of the season whether like them booing him becomes a freezing cold take as the Red Sox will win the World Series, but it's going to go one way.
I should point out that was in a game that the Red Sox absolutely got absolutely drum rolled because Tanner Houck was awful, so that made it even better.
To be fair, Tanner Houck was an early list for my bad, but I think enough's been discussed about Tanner Houck in other places that I don't think we didn't.
Rich Hill saved him. Rich, at least you did that.
Ben, Tigers' run differential is jumping about 10 runs every day at the moment. They're having a great time of it. And yeah, I agree. I love this. It's proper pantomime stuff, booing him. Imagine trying to explain to someone with no context why they're booing him. Oh, well, he almost signed there, but then didn't. And now they really hate him for it. Perfect. Best thing about baseball is these kind of things.
Yeah, not seeing the Jays fans boo Ohtani like that, are we? Ben, what have you got for us?
My final good is Chandler Simpson of the Tampa Bay Rays. I'm sure you guys have seen, made his debut a couple of weeks back now, is immediately basically the fastest player in the sport, and can basically do nothing else apart from run, seemingly, which rules. Congratulations, Billy Hamilton, you're back. This is great. I mean, I'm doing him a bit of a disservice. He is making some contact with the ball. He's not hitting it very hard, but he's getting singles, he's getting on base, and he's causing absolute havoc once he gets there. He turned an extremely regulation single into a double the other day. He's already racked up, I think, 7 or 8 steals. Like, he is a genuine menace anytime he's running, and he gets to run a lot, and that's awesome. So yeah, look, I don't think he's going to be a Pete Crow Armstrong level game changer, but I think he's fast enough and got enough contact skills where he will be a pretty good player for the Rays, and maybe they can do some developmental magic and turn him into a better hitter. But there's no denying he is absolutely electric to watch. It's kind of a highlight a night with him right now. So excited to see how this plays out, if he can sort of find his feet against Major League pitching and turn this into, more than just a speedy guy who's a bit of a gimmick and become a real sort of difference maker at the Major League level. But he's very, very fun to watch.
That's awesome. I think I did see that his WRC plus in single figures, though.
Irrelevant. The man's fast.
All right, and we'll end with me on our final good. Do either of you two know who Ayami Sato is?
I do not.
Ayami Sato is a Japanese female baseball player, and she became the first woman to play in Canadian professional baseball over the weekend. So she pitched 2 shutout innings for the Toronto Maple Leafs, not the one that you actually could think of, but somebody who has exactly the same name in
Not
a better name than that, lads. Come on.
Not the bad hockey team.
Yep, it was in the intercounty baseball leagues in Canada. Like, the first pitch that she threw was basically a soft grounder back to her. Actually, wasn't the soft one, but she basically made a play and threw straight out to first to get the out immediately, to rapturous applause of all the fans who were there watching. It's just Ayami Sato has effectively been the best female pitcher in Japan for probably 10 years. She's now in a mid-30s. She's responsible for the Japanese women's team winning like the equivalent of the World Baseball Classic multiple times in history in the last kind of like decade. And so seeing these sorts of things continue to break ground, we're seeing it like getting D1, D2 pitchers kind of like happening with that. There is kind of like this growth of women in baseball, and not just being like, hey, you know what, women play softball. Hey, there are some amazing women who do play softball, but it's awesome to see that like we're continuing to break ground for women's baseball.
Yeah, I love that. Great story.
Hard agree. I know you did want to end on a really nice note, but I've just made the mistake of looking at a notification on my phone, and I'm afraid we're going to have 3 bad because Pete.
Go on.
I don't know if you've seen it. Pete Rose has been reinstated. And is now re-eligible for the Hall of Fame, and that just sucks on every single level. On the level that he broke the cardinal rule of baseball, that he was a miserable, terrible human being who abused women and committed crimes at a federal level and at the political level, which, I won't go into in greater detail, but if you've been following, you know why this has happened. And it sucks. Sorry, Ayami Sato. I really want to cheer you, but I felt like just had to mention that. So, yeah, Russell's reaction is just looks disconsolate.
Crestfallen.
It's just like, we get why. We get that, obviously, like, where baseball's position, sadly, is in the political spectrum, but it's just like, it's the same of just posthumously trying to wipe over some of like the terrible things that somebody did. And it's just like, well, to come out with, I'm just quickly reading here that just regarding the phrase permanent ineligibility, to kind of even then just kind of come up with like a default way of changing what that means, not kind of like even like like banning the person, just kind of saying, you know what, it just depends over. Like, I'm just kind of like finagling the little rules around it to kind of be that, like, I'm not even going to go out there and with my bad take and own it. I'm going to come up with some kind of technicality to kind of get what we all know the President of the United States wants. So
it sucks, and Pete Rose sucks. He is one of the all-time historic worst people. That will never not be the case. Whether he's a Hall of Famer or not, he's a Hall of Fame arsehole, as we'd call it over here in the UK. And, yeah, this doesn't change it. So, what a sad way, sorry. I felt like I had to say it, because I'd literally just read it, and it was in my head.
No, we can't do anything about it, John. If I'd waffled a little bit less, we may have been able to get through this podcast without doing that, and had to given ourselves a whole week before it became around to us recording a podcast again. As
Now
always,
we don't ever have to mention him for the rest of the season. It's done now.
it's done. I always thank you to John and Ben for joining me today. Thank you all for listening or watching on YouTube. As always, we have great articles going out on the site. Please do go check that out at batflipsandnerds.com. Please do go to our YouTube channel. We are putting out original content. There is the first episode of the Baseball Beginner's Guide to Baseball Statistics is out there. There will be a second episode hopefully coming in the next week or two. And now I'm back from my holiday, so do get out there. We are trying to do more with baseball this year, and hopefully it'll all be in a much lighter position than how we ended this podcast. John, Ben, thank you very much.
See you, Russ. Sorry about that. Bye.
Cheers, Russ.